Hi friends, Robert Band, your business finance expert here. I'm sure you feel as I do that although rent expense is a fixed cost, if your sales are falling due to coronavirus, then your rent should fall also. How else can you maintain your bottom line from substantial losses? The pain of the virus should be felt equally by everyone. So if you're a tenant and you have falling revenues, your landlord should take a similar cut in its rent income. Here's a view from the landlord's eyes before the virus. If their occupancy was high before the virus, which likely was the case given the economy, then they're probably generating a lot of free cash flow, which is what's left after paying the maintenance and other property expenses and their mortgage. A great property, for example, might give the landlord cash flow equal to as much as 1/3 or more of their rent income. It's not uncommon for maintenance and other operating expenses to account for 1/3 of their rent income and their mortgage to account for another third of their rent income, leaving 1/3 as free cash flow to the landlord on a good property. So if the landlord cut your rent by 1/3, it would still lower their cash flow, but they likely could still maintain the property and pay their mortgage. Now, if their rent drops by a large enough percentage, say 50%, then they may not be able to pay their mortgage. But if that happens, their mortgage lender should work out something that accommodates the landlord's revised cash flow until it returns to pre-virus levels. The mortgage lender, in other words, would experience a revenue drop, but that's how everyone up the chain equally shares the pain. So how do you lower your rent? Rent equals price per square foot times your square footage. So either you cut your rent rate or you cut your square feet. The first thing you should do is ask your attorney to highlight clauses in your lease that may give you an out if you want to vacate or downsize your space. That will prime you with your rights that you may exercise if the landlord won't cut your rent. By the way, your lawyer is not immune to cutting their bill rates either. So if your revenues have plunged, you should ask them to cut their hourly rates entirely and do it for free, or at least by the same percentage as your revenues are falling. And if they don't, well, that tells you a lot. They should not be profiteering off of your misfortune. Now, once you're armed with your rights, or the lack thereof in your lease, meet with your landlord face to face. Show them your P&L before the coronavirus and a projection of the future after the virus so they can see your revenue drop. If your revenue is forecast to drop, say, 30%, ask for a rent concession of 30%. If they won't cut your rent, ask for free rent for 6 months to give you time to rebound. The landlord may want to extend your lease by the same number of months of free rent, which would be okay. The most important thing is to get their cooperation to cut your rent now so that you can survive. Get creative. Negotiate something that works for you during this cash flow crisis. For example, offer to show your landlord monthly financials showing your drop in monthly revenue in return for a similar percentage drop in rent, and do that until revenues return to pre-virus levels. That way, you and your landlord are sharing the pain equally. You may need to default on your lease, and I'll leave it to your lawyer to advise you on the ramifications of doing so and how the courts might view these circumstances. What I want to impress upon you is not to take fixed expenses lying down. They should be cut along with your variable expenses. Everyone should feel the pain equally. Just get to break even ASAP. And finally, I want to talk about using your line of credit during these times. The most important thing to do right now is to get to break even right away so you're not losing money. To finance losses on your line of credit is risky because you must pay it back in full during the year. Lines of credit are for short-term spikes in purchases like building inventory ahead of Cyber Monday. You borrow today, you buy the inventory, sell it, and repay the line from those sales. Although losing money during the coronavirus is hopefully short-term, which is what lines of credit are for, losses are better financed from shareholders' capital, not lines of credit. Remember, all loans, including lines of credit, are debts that must be repaid after you recover. Will you want to use valuable capital later to finance today's losses? I doubt it. That's why it's just better to get to break even ASAP and avoid losses altogether. Now, friends, I want to make you this offer. If you need an experienced CFO consultant to talk to right now and help you balance your budget as revenues plummet, I will extend you a complimentary call with me. It's my way of using my expertise to help people in need, and I'm happy to do it. I'll listen to you, look at your P&L, and offer the same creative advice I give all my clients. Just go to robertband.com where you'll find my contact information and schedule your call with me. This is Robert Band, your business finance expert. Would you like better financial management that leads to better results? Then let me put these pieces in place for you. Remember, one tip could be worth millions, and profits today due to compounding of interest become fortunes tomorrow. I'll speak to you next time. Stay safe.